Hey everybody, welcome to the Potato Shop Podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Dutch Murdoch.
And we're just here today to talk a little bit MMA stuff is the big, they're the ones that are producing good material to talk about. We're also going to be talking a little bit about, I guess it's day 11 of the DDPY
That's it.
Yoga
That's right.
challenge. So let's first start off with the world of MMA.
So a lot of big fights have been announced.
Right.
John Jones just vacated the light heavyweight title, which, I guess on one hand, we're in a day and age right now with the fighting to where everybody wants to be champ. You win the title today, well, instead of, back in the day, take Anderson Silva, for example. When he beat Rich Franklin for the middleweight title, Anderson Silva cleaned out his division. Okay, they threw everything but the kitchen sink at him, trying to get somebody in there that gave him a challenge. Same thing with George St. Pierre down in welterweight. You know what I'm saying? When he was champion, he cleaned out his division. Now, one of those guys looks to make a move up to another weight or move down and go for a division title at another weight. I can accept that because they have exhausted all their competitors at that point. But now we're in a day and age. A guy wins the belt, or a girl wins the belt, and immediately is wanting to fight the champion at another weight class. They're wanting the big money fights. But I'm going to use an analogy here. It's kind of like with pro wrestling. Everybody and their brother wants to talk about they're the cock of the walk. But it's like, how many asses are you putting in the seat? Amanda Nunes, phenomenal fighter. She sucks when it comes to pay-per-view buy rates. And she's beat, in my opinion, Amanda Nunes is, right now, the greatest female fighter competing. Because she's beat them all. She's beat Cyborg, she's beat Rousey, she's beat Holmes, she's beat Misha Tate. The list just goes on and on. She has literally cleaned out all of your top female fighters. She's phenomenal. But at any rate, though, I kind of got off on the sidetrack there. But I'm surprised that John Jones vacated his title to make the move up to heavyweight. But I guess, from a business standpoint, I guess Dana and them are wanting, it's like, hey, you need to focus on one belt at a time, and like what I was just talking about, and you need to, if he does move up to heavyweight, and he does beat Stipe, if that's the fight that they're putting together for him, then, he needs to focus on defending that title. Now, that's if he's going straight into the heavyweight picture, or title shot. It could be that he's, I know right after the DC Stipe trilogy ended, Francis Ngannou was hollering he wanted his rematch, which I believe, to me, in my opinion, that's the logical next move for Stipe, is to have that rematch.
I would agree. I think Stipe should fight Francis Ngannou, and then that would also give John Jones some more time to put on some more weight if he needs to. He said he was going to start trying to gain weight in the division. I was listening, and I wish I could remember who was talking about, but they said it's hard to be a champ unless you're in a division that, for example, the Amanda Nunes, she's in 135, which is a great weight division, and then she's the champ of 145, which has very little individuals in there who can make it a competitive fight. So in turn, it's very easy to be champ there. John Jones could not be champ as if he won the heavyweight championship and tried to defend the lightweight, because he would have to be sucking his body dry to get to 205 to defend that belt. The older he gets, the harder it is. If you look at DC this past weekend when he fought Stipe, I was really surprised his gas tank didn't go out, but he had a belly on him, and I get it. I mean, he's 41, 42. So it's making it harder to lose weight if you don't keep it off.
DC talked about that he's been on the losing end of 2 trilogies. I guess with John Jones, and then of course with Stipe. And it's funny because for him to be such a decorated fighter and be as dominant as he was, because there was guys that he just manhandled and tossed them around like rag dolls.
Right.
But it's amazing that that he. Now, don't get me wrong. On the DC Stipe trilogy, I absolutely was in Stipe's corner. I like both fighters, so when DC beat Stipe, I was okay with that. But I'm a Stipe fan. I enjoy watching him fight. I would have liked to seen DC beat John Jones. And I tell you, one thing I remember is when John Jones finished DC, and DC became very emotional there in the ring after that fight. The thing about it is I appreciated the fact that there's legitimate bad blood between the two. They're not complaining, but the animosity there between them, and emotions run high. And of course, neither one of them wants to be on the losing end of things. And I can appreciate how DC was feeling, because he didn't just lose to a guy he doesn't like. He lost on the grand stage. You know what I'm saying? And so my hat's off to the guy, man. DC had a phenomenal career. He gave us some great matches to remember. For every loss he took, though, there was somebody out there, man, he ragdolled. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Heavyweight's going to be very interesting now. I think DC was a good guy, but I always like the people that when you're saying, "Hey, I'm going to retire after this fight," I really didn't want to see the belt thrown into a turmoil. That's really my biggest thing.
So let me throw another possibility here at you. Here not too far back, a couple years ago, old John Jones threw Brock Lesnar's name out there, and had alluded to the fact that he would like to do a big super fight with Brock Lesnar. WWE has let Brock Lesnar do a one-off. Because Brock Lesnar's at a point in his career, with his clout. He's a former UFC heavyweight champion. He's obviously a cash cow for WWE now. The guy's got some clout that if the stars and moon align, what if that's the big talk that they were having?
That would be. I didn't even think about that, but I don't know if Brock is in the testing pool.
Isn't it right? I don't know if he's in. I haven't seen anything saying that he was.
And I don't know if you saw Anthony Rumble Johnson.
Right.
Well, he just came out of retirement. He's back. He's back in the testing pool, but he wants to go to 205 for some reason. And I'm really surprised he didn't say he wanted to go heavyweight, since he's already heavy. He don't have to try to. He already has issues cutting weight from the past. So if he was a heavyweight, he could fight John Jones, because that's what they were building to anyway. And I think that would be a good.
Wasn't Josh Koscheck a welterweight?
Yeah.
You remember watching Rumble fight him at a welterweight?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And he would be sucked dry. Who was it? Joe Riggs was like that too. Remember, he was heavyweight all the way down.
Riggs went all over the map.
Right, and he would look all sunk in and sickly.
Drug addict.
Yeah, so he was all over. You got that fight. So let's see what else is coming up. So in September you've got Izzy and Paulo Costa.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
And then you got Jan Blachowicz taking on Dominic Reyes for the
vacant.
Right now, is that officially for the vacant?
Yes. That's going to be the light heavyweight title bout, and that's September 26th.
Okay, well, that's going to be a great.
And then you got Anderson Silva taking on Uriah Hall.
Really?
October 31st.
Anderson Silva's back.
Anderson Silva
Gosh,
is back.
he's my favorite fighter of all time, and I wish he would just retire. Just because I'm tired of watching his head bounce off the mat. It's very similar to Ken Shamrock or Ric Flair.
No, he's not taking it like he's not losing like them guys. He's not losing like Ken Shamrock, and he's not losing like who's another guy that can't just seem to get out of his own way. Old Chuck Liddell.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva's not losing like that. Yes, look at the Michael Bisping fight. He lost that fight. Okay? But if you go back and you watch that fight, it was not like that Anderson Silva was getting beat pillar to post. He should have went after Michael Bisping right there after he dropped him with that flying knee.
Right.
Because, the bell saved Bisping on that one. But he should have came after him and went after him hard because he left it in the judge's hands, and where were they? They were in England.
Right. Even if he was here in the States, he should have went after him real hard.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. I agree with that. You never leave it in the judge's hands.
But no, Anderson Silva. But not he had a very controversial win against Derek Brunson, which everyone said that Derek Brunson won, but they gave it to Silva. And then I cannot remember Jared Hall. Why does Jared Hall come in my? Well, what Cantonier maybe was one who he threw a knee and he hit Anderson's knee. He threw a kick in Anderson's knee and it hurt him.
Yeah.
And they had to stop the fight.
Yeah.
So in turn, I just don't want to see fights like that. I don't like watching.
I'll tell you another fight I'm excited about is Brian Ortega and the Korean Zombie.
That's going to be an excellent fight.
That would be really good. And then you've also got Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis. Which that could potentially be a snore fest.
I like Curtis Blades a lot.
That could potentially be a snore fest. I understand that. But now, so could Korean Zombie and Brian Ortega.
I think that'll be a good fight.
It should be, because the Korean Zombie likes to throw, but he's also very skilled on the ground. So on paper, that should be a good fight, because that'll be one where they can do it on the feet. They can go to the ground, and both guys are capable of going with each other.
Right.
So
who else? And then the big one that I know I'm all for is Habib, Justin Gaethje, October 26th, I believe.
Now the big talk with that is if Habib beats Gaethje, that his next fight, which will be his retirement fight, will be against GSP, and apparently Dana's on board for that.
Once again, I would be fine. I would be really fine if they were. If it wasn't him, if he just gives up the belt, just give up the belt, let someone else fight for it, and then he can go fight. I know that's not how they're going to do it.
No,
because GSP is going to want to claim the light heavyweight belt, and then he'll retire too. So, that'll be a good fight. But 4 years to fight Michael Bisping, 4 years to fight Habib.
All right, so I'm still of the opinion, had Michael Bisping not got caught, the tide was turning. Bisping was going to win. He was going. George St. Pierre was slowing down. Bisping's game plan was starting to come together. Now GSP is a phenomenal fighter. He's one of the best, because he gets a game plan together and he goes with it. So his strategy's phenomenal. But I do believe that fight had gone longer, that it would have went towards in Bisping's favor. I think he comes in here against Khabib. Now he's gonna be more challenging than I think any of the guys Khabib's faced so far. Okay, but that being said, Khabib pulls him, as he would say, into the deep waters. This is not old Johnny. What was his name? The Mack truck.
Johnny Riggs.
Johnny, yeah, it's not him. Here's this guy who was supposedly a phenomenal wrestler with jackhammer punches, and the guy was, I don't know what he was doing, but anyways, he didn't do enough to really put GSP away. So, but it would be a good fight. It'd be really good.
Right. Let's see. And the other big thing, I guess, is Paige. I don't know how big it is, but Paige Van Zandt has signed supposedly a multi-million-dollar deal.
Bare knuckle fighting.
Yes, with bare knuckle fighting.
Right.
And it makes no sense. If she's making so much money on Instagram, why would she go there to an organization that's going to cut her face up? Because the bare fist will slice and dice her face.
Because she wants the credibility of being a fighter. She understands. She's even said as much. She says, "Look," she says, "I realize what this could potentially do to my looks, and I understand the money I make and this, that, and the other." But she has a desire to be respected as a legitimate fighter.
Wow.
Because let's be honest here, Paige Van Zandt was not. She didn't light the world on fire in the UFC. She was good marketing for him because she's a pretty girl. She
did okay. I guess.
She did okay. But at the end of the day, she was not somebody, man, that they were going to build a pay-per-view around.
Right. I'll be interested in just seeing what she does. I'm surprised she didn't sign with Bellator. Her husband is signed with Bellator. Scott Coker would feed her fights. That would be to help just market her.
Yeah.
I think he's not a guy. Like he seems to be more willing to throw tomato cans at young fighters to build them up, because that's what you need. You need to build these
it's
fighters
funny.
up.
We've talked about that before, because that's one of the frustrating things is, when you talk about fighters going to the UFC never gives the guy somebody coming in an easy fight, because you got to think, who did Brock Lesnar fight on his first fight?
Right, Frank Mir,
right. And
then it's Heath Herring, then Randy Couture.
Right.
Right.
I mean, it's like, name one easy fight Brock had.
He didn't. No.
But then, the criticism, though, to that is you're paying all this money to Brock Lesnar. You're bringing him in. You're showcasing him. You're wanting people to buy him. The reason pro wrestling had jobbers is because you wanted your talent, or you wanted your whoever it was you were trying to push at the time, to showcase their talent and generate interest and get people to want to buy the tickets. So then when you did match them up with somebody that was of equal stature, that built interest. It made people want to watch.
Right.
But the criticism to that, though, goes to, like in boxing, a guy fights 10 times. Well, if 7 of those 10 fights were, like you said, tomato cans, can you really make the argument that this guy's the best in the world?
Well, I guess the way I heard Teddy Atlas, I think it was Teddy Atlas talk, they take about the first 20 fights to build up a guy's reputation. And after 20, then they start giving you more solid competition. So in turn, I do see you getting your feet wet, things of that nature. Because last thing you want to do is have, like, let's say, if Roy McDonald or Aaron Pico, who was Bellator, they were going to feed him someone easy, and the guy knocked him out or choked him out. One of the two. So in turn, it can turn into a bad news real quick either way. So I don't know. I think there is sometimes you need to get the ring rust out, so you should always have a little bit easier if you haven't been fighting for a long time. I don't know if that someone coming in unless they come in, they were like a Fedor, who have been the top. All right, go on, throw them into the rank or into the top.
Right.
But if it's someone who's never fought before, but at the same time, when I think about it, it's like if you're paying them enough money.
Well, it's like CM Punk.
Yeah.
What? In all honesty, what did UFC think they were getting with him? You know what I'm saying? The guy's never trained for this stuff. Did not have a wrestling background or anything like that. He was a pro wrestler. He was a household name in the sense to where, there were people outside of the business that knew him. Mm-hmm. And who'd they feed him to? Mickey Gall. And Mickey Gall mauled him like a bear. And, it would have been nice to see them. I believe that CM Punk should have fought somebody like Chris Lieben.
Right.
Because Chris Lieben's tough. That's a respectable fight. But Chris Lieben's also going to try to stand and trade. And honestly, that's who they should have tried to match Punk up with, is more of a... Because he's not a threat on the ground. If Punk would have took somebody to the ground, like Chris Lieben, I'm using him as an example, but if he would have took him to the ground, Lieben would not have been in... Punk is green enough, Lieben would not have been in trouble or in risk of being finished unless Punk just really happened to land into something. You know what I'm saying? So Lieben would have been able to fight or try to fight to get back up to his feet, but the chances of Punk getting him on the ground and then finishing him, slim to none. You know?
Right.
He'd have to watch, obviously, for ground and pound, because I think that's what Punk would be trying to do there. But, you know, in the same token, Punk would have to be careful that, you know, Lieben doesn't turn it around on him. So...
Yep. So let's roll into... Now, this is off topic of MMA, but I know for the past couple of weeks we've been talking about the death of movie theaters, slowly. Yes. Possible.
Yes.
Well, today, you know, on August 28th, Bill and Ted Face the Music come out.
Yes.
It's going to come out at theaters and on demand. On the same day.
Yes.
Apple just released... Well, I guess it was Bill and Ted 3 released, like, where you can pick up the movie. I went to Apple TV to see how much it was going to cost to get the release right now. It's $25.
So it's available on iTunes?
You on the 28th. Yes.
Okay.
So I can go on and pre-register, and on the 28th I can watch it, or whoever. So
now, is that you purchasing the movie?
I don't know how long you get to keep it.
Okay.
But still... It's no different than me going to the theater.
That's a good deal.
That's a great deal.
That's game changer.
Let's
be honest, that's a game changer. And I realize that when we finally get past this COVID stuff, and you know things kind of start getting back to normal, people are they'll venture back out again. But that's a game changer right there.
You know what? Because movies cost so much, I don't know if people are like I said, the one thing that COVID has done has truly killed things that was already dying or that was weak, and it showed an infrastructure to the business, and movie theaters is one of them that had a high dollar, like $25 is what I pay to go get popcorn, the ticket, sit in a seat, where now I'm going to be able to pay $25 and all right, so in turn I'll have to have
split the cost with that.
Correct. And like we could buy popcorn or from the grocery store. We can buy candy from the grocery store, and it's going to be cheap. Yeah, you can have alcohol. You can have whatever you want. You can have a whole fucking meal.
Pause the movie to get to the bathroom.
Yeah, and you're not going to be having to share a bathroom with a bunch of other people.
No.
So
you're not going to have to hunt for a seat.
No.
Now, don't get me wrong, man. I don't mean to paint a picture of the movie theaters, because obviously growing up, that's the way you saw movies there for a long time, and there is something to be said for that experience and seeing some of these movies on the big screen. I definitely get that, but we're getting into a point now. You can buy TVs, maybe not necessarily movie screen, but you're buying TVs that are huge.
They're big enough where I'm not sitting there going, my God, I got to go and see it on the big screen.
Right.
There's enough movies that I've seen. I think what I enjoy more about the theaters, like when you go to a wrestling match or an MMA card or whatever, and you feel the vibe of the crowd, and everyone's excited, or going to a concert, everyone's excited. So I just thought that was interesting. I think we've just seen... I don't know how it's going to end. But if I was a bet man, I think in the future, just like you'll have newspapers, the movie theaters are not going to have...
They're not going to be as...
The stranglehold.
No, because... Why should they?
Right.
Because the thing about it is, people are going to go ahead and they're going to buy these movies. They're already experiencing success with this stuff. I don't know. I mean, like I said, Netflix is making Hollywood quality movies and putting them straight out on their streaming service and experiencing great success with it.
Yeah.
I know they still offer CDs and records, and stuff like that. But in today's market, aside from just wanting to own the actual, wanting to have it physically in hand, what do you need it for? You've got Apple Music. You've got what else do you have there? Spotify,
Google.
You got Google.
Right.
All these different music services, man, where you can pay a little monthly fee. Basically, I pay for Apple Music, and what I pay for Apple Music basically would be the cost of one CD a month.
Right.
And I have everything that they have in their library available to me.
That's crazy. But that's the way the future is. And I do see, when I saw that with Bill and Ted, I said, first thing that went through my head is, I'm not going to the theater. So the theater's going to open up on that Friday because I've talked to enough people and I said, are you excited about Bill and Ted? Are you excited about Bill? Like, I'm excited about Bill and Ted. I only know of like one or two people who are like, yeah, I'm excited. No one else is excited. So in turn, like, why am I going to go to the theater? I can just sit at my house and pay the $25. If now if you wanted to watch it, hey, I'll wait until you're off. Or, we connect the schedule. Cool. I would rather do that because that's what we would do anyway.
Right.
Me and you connect schedule. We'll go out to the theater, watch, and then on the way home talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's a great story. I'm really excited about it.
I'm excited about it too.
It is it's definitely a I don't know if it would be like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Guns N' Roses album, things that has such a length of time in between it. Does it burn? Now, like with the two that I initially said, Guns N' Roses, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, people really had.
Well, there was high expectations.
I don't know if people got the high expectations.
Got that kind of expectation for Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Correct. So,
but I do feel like, and
yeah, go ahead.
And talking about the death of things, you've got, I know we talked about this recently, but I feel like with movie theaters, you're also seeing a decline in comic book stores, or not just seeing a decline, but there is a decline, but. Meet that kind of form of media. What's the future for comics?
Right. Everything's going through. If it's not MMA, if it's not comics, if it's pro wrestling, everything. You've almost got to have a team that's constantly looking at the upcoming thing. What's coming? Is the internet? Okay, well we got to make adjustments.
So here's an interesting little thing. Before you and I got together to record this, I was watching a video on YouTube, and it was talking about the decline of Redbox, and it was interesting because I didn't even know that something like this existed, but. There was a guy, and of course, like I said, I only watched this video that one time, and I don't remember his name. But back in the 80s, he developed a kiosk that would be able to dispense VHS cassette tapes. Now, the problem was, because you could go to this kiosk, you could see, you could see the title of the movie, you could watch the trailer, you could read reviews, all this other stuff, and then and then if you rented it, it'd feed it out to you. The problem was this back in the 80s. You're talking, man, you had movie stores everywhere. Okay, you had your big ones, your Blockbusters, your Hollywood Videos, and then you had your mom and pop stuff. And so people were like, "Oh, that's a really neat concept," but they weren't using it. This guy was years ahead of his time, And now. A VHS, they were talking, some of the problems with that would be is if somebody, say, rented a VHS and they drop it, well, then it breaks. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a disc. A disc is considerably lighter. So there were some technical issues as far as trying to dispense VHS tapes, unlike, a DVD. But, we're talking about that. You talk about Redbox, and I'm sure people still are using Redbox, and I know Redbox is now starting to move towards offering like a streaming kind of, what I'm saying, like you can rent the movie and stream it, but I think the day's coming, just like now in cars, you're hard pressed to rent or to get a car that has a CD player in it.
Absolutely,
everything's gone to USB ports and stuff,
even
or
computers.
Bluetooth.
Like the Mac here.
Right.
It don't have no CD drive. I'm going to have to buy one so I can put my CDs onto the iTunes. And that drives me up the wall,
Yeah.
No, but just the way things are changing. It was just so strange. I'll be curious to see how things... Because who would have figured that we would be consuming so much through the telephone, but for movies and television and wrestling and all that stuff.
Computers have changed everything.
Right. Internet. Yes, definitely.
Internet has changed everything.
Absolutely. But when I saw that with Bill and Ted, I thought that... To me,
well, and I think, and I'll be honest with you too. I think that going to the movie theater, while there is a bit of nostalgia and stuff like that too, and there's people that love going to the movie theater. They, going to get the popcorn, and the fountain drinks and all that other stuff. I mean, it can be a very good experience. But how many times have you had a bad experience?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, if I'm here at the house and we rent the movie, split the cost of it, and the movie sucks, well, I'm not out, like you said, $25, $30 just for me, and the movie sucked.
Right.
That's the other thing too, man. A lot of these movie theaters, movies have gotten to be expensive. So, back in the day, you could go to the movies and get a ticket for $5. So if you rolled the dice on something and it didn't come up good, well, you're out $5. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Now you're talking $10, $11, $12.
Yeah, well, it was like over $10 for the last movie I went to, and then
Right.
plus $15, $16 for popcorn and soda.
Yeah.
So right there is Bill and Ted, and I would save a couple bucks. And I don't know. It's crazy times that the COVID has put us into. So see, what else we got to talk about today?
So I saw the creators of Stranger Things state that season 4 will not be the last season of Stranger Things. They didn't really go into too much, but they know how they want to end it, but it's not with season 4. In other words, I don't know what that means. Like, is there going to be a season 5? Or are they going to try and do a movie? I don't know.
That's a good thing. I like when series go from start, have a plan, and then they end it. I just never want to see things get drug out, and then it ruins the what you remember. I see Sopranos has like a movie coming out. I guess it might be HBO Max. They're doing a Sopranos movie, and I don't know exactly what's it all about. I know one of the comedians, Joey Diaz, has talked about it. He's one of Joe Rogan's buddies.
Right. I'm familiar with him.
Yeah, so I know they're doing that. Is there any other movies I've heard? That's the only one that I've heard that I went, wow, I'm really interested. Not that I was a big Sopranos fan, but it seems like a lot of people are finding a lot of these old HBO shows through HBO Max.
If you got HBO Max, HBO Max is probably one of the best streaming services out there. And they've got Sopranos on there. You can stream the entire series. They've got Game of Thrones, 6 Feet Under. I haven't looked to see if Oz is on there.
I would imagine it would be there.
It might be.
They might not have put it on yet.
But now, I remember watching. I completed Oz. I watched it live as it played out. So,
there's some series you get into. Like, there's that Netflix series, Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
And one of the guys at work watched it and was talking about it, so I said, well, I'm going to watch it. And then I got, I don't know how many seasons I got into it. Then it was just like, I didn't even have I wasn't connecting with it at all. But I was just like riding it out. Just because, well, I've been watching, I guess I'll just go on and ride it out,
Well, it's kind of like me and The Walking Dead. It's like I'm finding, like, I can honestly say I'm probably done with The Walking Dead, because I find I'm having to make myself watch it,
right?
When it comes on, and it's like,
but
it's still drawing the ratings for AMC. I mean, it's in a position to where it's kind of one of those things. Yeah. It's gonna go on for as long as AMC will let.
Look, if I was in that guy's position too, and I was making the money he's making, I'd probably milk it as much as even though I hate seeing the Trailer Park Boys or Seinfeld or whatever go longer than it should. I get it. I would milk it because I mean there's a lot of times it's not like we'll look at The Office. Only a couple of them went on to continue on successful stuff. A lot of them might be around. You might see them every so often, but it's not like they're connecting. So whenever I hear someone like a William Shatner or whatever bitch and bellyache about, or the guy who played Mike Brady, when you get an opportunity, let me get typecast where I can go to Comic Cons and do all this other stuff with just one character. I can't expand into my Shakespeare roles and all that stuff. But sometimes you just got to ride it. I don't know. Maybe sometimes I want to see it end properly, but at the same time, I could see.
You say, let me get typecast, but unfortunately, not everybody that gets typecast is a hot commodity at Comic-Con.
No, but there's a lot of people that will complain about being typecast that still I would rather be typecast if I was trying to be an actor.
It's funny because I know Adam West struggled. And I don't know so much about Burt Ward, but I know Adam West struggled with being typecast because I know he continued to try to work after the Batman TV series. And, of course, he was so successful with Batman that, of course, it landed him. When everybody saw Adam West, they saw Batman. But, that was something like what you just said. He was that situation where I remember going to the Comic-Con in Richmond, seeing Adam West and Burt Ward there together, and they did a Q&A. It was in this big hall. I mean, there was hundreds of people in there. I mean, of all ages in there, cheering for these guys. That show aired in the 60s, but these people all knew that show intimately. You know what I'm saying? So they did something right. And they became part of pop culture to where they've left a mark. And you're right. That's kind of the typecast. But the same thing can be said with Star Trek, too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now, William Shatner did something interesting because he not only got Captain Kirk, but he got T.J. Hooker, too.
True.
Now, he was successful on Boston Legal with Denny Crane. That was a hit show for him later on. William Shatner may not have been out here putting out the movies, where you were going to the movie theater to see the next William Shatner, aside from Star Trek.
Right.
But, boy, TV's been phenomenal to that guy.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes I guess in the end, you need to accept it. You just need to accept you've been typecast. Sometimes people let it eat them inside, I guess. Let it eat away at them. So I don't know. But, who...
You know what I would like to know?
What's that?
But I don't know that we'll ever know. I'd like to know the genesis of who decided, let's put Milli Vanilli together. Because think about this for a second, seriously. Now, that whole scandal, everybody knows that. They won a Grammy. They had the Grammy taken. The two guys, the two guys that were the front guys for the band, was revealed they were lip singing. But I guess my question is, if we were record executives, would we just be sitting around and go, what if we got a couple of guys to sing? But let's get two other guys to...
I think it was something like that. Record executives wanted to...
But it's like, but why? Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, because it's not like... And don't give me this crap of...
well, it's going to be look.
But don't give me that crap, right. Because let me tell you something, man. Listen, Joey Ramone is one of the ugliest men ever walked the face of the earth. But he was out there fronting the Ramones every day.
True, but at the same time, the Ramones didn't hit the same level of success of the put together corporate looking
Well, they didn't,
singers of Milli Vanilli.
Well, we're comparing apples and oranges here because Milli Vanilli came into the mix with a machine behind them.
Right.
You know, there were people that had vested interest that it was not for the love of the music. You see what I'm saying? The Ramones, however, came up like a normal band, and they earned their fan base. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
But what I'm saying is the guys that were actually singing, man, it was because if you take that controversy away and you listen to just those songs, they're great. The guys sing great. So why do you gotta hide them behind these other two guys? And I mean, and then I maybe somebody somewhere has talked about this, but how do you pitch that? What if I came to you and I said, "Hey man, listen, I got an idea. I'm gonna get him to sing, but you're gonna go out on stage,
and then
you're gonna be the one dancing and lip singing it."
And then you got to do kayfabe and not talk about, like, you can't sit here and go, all right, we've got you lip singing to my songs. We've got to pretend that's all you. And everybody in this, very much like a conspiracy theory with, like, let's say a 9/11, you got all these folks.
How many people
have to be?
Yes.
Yeah, so now it's like, how many people? How far does this go? Yeah, I mean, this could turn into a complete crazy.
All right. And so let's take it down another road here. Let's say that infamous skip never happened, and Milli Vanilli kept on trucking. Okay. At some point, as with any band, all of a sudden they're not going to be able to get along. Well, what happens? How do you split the two up then? If that came to be. You see what I'm saying? Because now you're mad. I can't work with him. So are you going to threaten to expose our little secret? Or now does the executives have to send the guy that was singing for you, that was your voice. Now you're out here making solo records with your guy. I'm over here doing solo records or guest appearance on it. That's ridiculous to even say. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, doing a duet with...
So on the single, you got the guy that's just the face being credited as singing.
Yes.
On a duet.
So, we can look into that. Maybe next week we can talk about what exactly brought this whole Milli Vanilli thing.
Well, there's been a lot of people.
I know it's been
but
talk.
I mean, this is like stuff I'm just thinking about. But it's like, where did this come off that this was a good idea? Now listen, you take like New Kids on the Block, for example. Okay, those guys probably were lip singing at their concerts. Okay, more than likely they were, but they were lip singing their own voice. Right. You know what I'm saying? They actually sang. But it goes back before that. You had the fucking monkeys who didn't know how to play their own instruments. Now they could sing, but they couldn't play.
Right.
But they, so they were up there faking it like they were playing. And they were getting by with it.
Right. That's a lot easier for me to buy into.
You can almost accept that because on some level, if you're at least singing, if at least the singing is real.
Right.
All right, yeah, okay. Well, you can't play guitar, but you can sing. All right, that's fine.
I mean, there's been numerous bands that have had someone come in like, what type of band that would come in and do the performance on
like a sessions?
Yeah, do the sessions. Yeah. And then, what's his face? Eric Singer was sick during Hot in the Shade. Not, it was Eric Carr.
Eric Carr.
And Eric Singer was the one playing drums on the most of that album, from my understanding.
Okay.
And, when they did that video for God Gave Rock and Roll to You.
Yes.
Eric Carr wanted to make sure he was there because he wanted to show that he was still part of the band to the fans. And at that time, I guess it seemed like there might have been some type of conflict. So Eric Carr might have been on the way out had he not gotten sick. Who knows? But he was thinking that they were trying to replace him with Eric Singer. Which, if you look, Eric Singer took over, and now he's been with the band longest than anybody else, right? So
yeah, Eric Singer showed up on Revenge.
Yeah, and then he had that brief break with so they could do the reunion tour.
Yeah,
but he's been back since then.
He's been back ever since. And, phenomenal, man.
Yeah, it's fine. So, all right, and then the final thing we're going to talk about today is the DDP 100-day yoga challenge. We're in day 11.
Yes.
And how's it been going?
Been going good. So the way I've been approaching it is I've been doing red hot core every day. And I'm basically I'm coupling that with other workout stuff that I'm doing. So I'm incorporating DDP yoga into other workout stuff. And so I'm focusing, I'm letting the yoga be my ab and, core strength workout. And so it's been working out great.
All right. I've done like energy, I'll do fat burner, stand up. And then
I figured you'd be doing chair.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, I'll do that. But, as long as it is a part of the DDP program, we can if you wanted to do that. A couple of them, I ran out of time. So I was like, I did breathing. And it's like 6 minutes, 7 minutes.
It's like, good God, Brian.
What's that?
6 months doing breathing.
It's a 6 minute breathing thing where you're holding your breath and you're doing deep breaths and stuff like that. Wim Hof is a big proponent of, because we don't breathe properly, he says. And you control your breathing. And that's what the whole idea of this is to control your breathing. Because when you're in positions, if it might be Road Warrior 3 or something where you're balancing, you don't want to be holding your breath or whatever the case might be. You want to be able to have a constant, nice breath.
Well, it's funny, because I find that when I do DDPs, the red hot core, one thing that I struggle with is the timing of my breath. When in other words, I'm inhaling when I should be exhaling.
Right.
And vice versa. And so I still find myself struggling with that.
Right. One thing that I have seen is, because I haven't done, I'll do yoga, but it does it in like every other day, or, it was hit and miss on weeks. Between right at the base of my shoulders and the base of my neck, to in between my shoulders, from base of the neck to in between the shoulders, I feel that my spine is real tired. And I think I'm out of alignment. So that's why I was going to be going over to a chiropractor too, to get in alignment. Even though I use the teeter and all that good stuff, which I think's wonderful. And inversion table.
I absolutely support chiropractic health. I mean, I think that you get your spine right, and get yourself aligned. It's like everything.
Right.
It all works together.
So, but for the past 10 days, I have felt my the spine don't feel as tired. So I do feel that I'm moving in the right direction. So in turn, I do think it's going to be I've always had flexibility. It's never been really an issue. There's only a couple movements that hurt me. Like I can't
full on splits and things like that.
Yeah, full on splits, standing on the head or whatever the case might be. But yeah. Then I've been like adding it into the walking and all that good stuff. So that's going to be the new thing this upcoming week. Because my schedule's been changing a little bit. So that way I can throw in more of the running, walking, yoga, things to that nature.
Oh, yeah.
To keep moving in the right direction. And then you got to obviously bring in weights. Because otherwise you'll be like DC.
That's right.
And that's not good.
Yeah.
So, so what else we got to talk about? Anything else?
But I think that'll do it for now.
All right. So until next time, I'm Brian.
I'm Dutch Murdoch.
And we will see you later. Thanks for listening to Potato Shop Podcast. You can listen to us on Podbean, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all the other places you get your podcast. Follow us on all of our social media. Instagram at Potato Shop Podcast. Twitter and YouTube at Potato Shop PC. And when you go to YouTube, remember to click the subscribe button and notification bell. So until next time, my friends, goodbye.